my fishes, Courtney Mermaid here and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Siren Tale and my version of the Siren Tale. I'm going to talk about the different design elements and when I tried to recreate or create my version of the Siren Tale, what some of the thought processes were, because I have had questions like, hey Courtney, are you going to recreate your Siren Tale? Is this something that you would do again? How do you feel about extended flukes? A lot of these kinds of questions. That being said, if you're looking for the very specific this Siren Tale in-depth video, I actually did a full video, a full breakdown showing you the inside of the fluke, like everything, all of the details, the zippers, everything, including the top, and that I'll be sure to leave in the description box and down below for you guys to check out if you are looking for specific information on this tail. But today I want to break down some of the design elements, how I kind of feel about it, what my thoughts are, and what I chose to incorporate into this mermaid tail. So if that sounds interesting, then let's dive on in. Okay, so obviously let's break it down. We're gonna start fluke first. We're gonna talk a little bit about some of the differences and some of the similarities. Now, something that's really actually I didn't realize was this similar until I actually popped this tail out today to film the other video, is that the Mertailor's Fantasy fin, the original, is almost identical to this fluke shape. Now, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. I do know that when I saw the Mertailor's Fantasy fin, the original, I said to myself, boy, if that isn't perfect, we're gonna use that one. But when I lay this over top, the spook is quite real. So, like, they are almost exactly. I'm gonna grab that camera to show you guys. So here you can see the shape is so similar. It's actually bonkers. It's almost uncanny because, like, here's ooh, there's stuff on my monofin. Up to here, right? Even that shape is super, super similar. Now, obviously I chose not to do the barb at the end for obvious reasons. This is not a design element that I'm particularly cool with. I do think in the digital version of the tails, especially when it was used like the weapon that it's supposed to be, that was really cool. But something gets lost in translation on a full silicone tail that I just isn't quite for me. So I chose to actually represent this in the actual pattern on my fluke. So in these sharp edges, I ended up making this one a little bit more pronounced and a little bit more obvious. That was how I chose to hide it in here, and you can see it on the front of the fin as well. So the front and the back are the same, but then you can see it here as well. So that was where I chose to do it, because if you can imagine doing this with fabric, how loose and like floofy and floppy that would be, I just don't see it. You'd have to put vinyl in there or something, and that's like beyond my level of interest. Okay, not expertise. I could do it, but my level of interest in that, it's just the design for me would just not be worth, it just wouldn't be worth it. I'll leave it there. I will say the main big noticeable difference on the Mertailor's fin is this whole extra piece here, where this actually comes to a little bit, let me just turn the camera, to a little bit of a chunkier point. This one has a little bit more of that, if you line it up, a little bit more of that like fish element. So it kind of, you know, if I lopped it off right here, it would be almost the exact same fin. Now, the other thing that you can see here is Mertailor does have a lot of these really thick ridges, which, as you can see, and I think you can actually see it this time, the wear and tear that those ridges have caused, whereas areas that are smooth have not sustained as much damage. This is a little bit, in my opinion, a tiny little bit of a design flaw. It looks really cool, okay, without a skin on top. But when you put a skin on top of this, you are just asking for trouble. Like, it happens on all monofins that have ridges like that, and the vast majority of fins, including the Luna, do have ridges like that. So that's where you do need to be a little bit more careful that your design actually follows. Here I didn't really have too much of a choice because I was going for a specific look, but that's something that you need to think about. I also chose, here's a really good point to talk a little bit about the design. So I find that the Siren Tail is a very like fishy looking tail up until like here. And then we get into this very like mammalian kind of seal meets whale meets, I'm not even really sure exactly what, but I do feel as though two different species kind of blended here. And I don't dislike it, it's just it's not my personal design sensibility. I wouldn't have done it like that. So when I chose to make my design, I actually opted to do a very fishy fluke. I did keep a lot of that like whale tail shape, the overall like the big picture shape, right? And then I kind of cut into it to create a little bit of that fishy texture. I also chose to do scales on my tail. Later versions of the Siren Tale digitally, they do have all kinds of scales and all kinds of dots. And to give you another example, okay guys, I wasn't gonna share this because the tail isn't actually ready to go yet, but I think you guys deserve a sneak peek. So this is a very, very sneak peek at a Siren Tale that I actually am creating currently for Mermaid Kim. This is based off of season 3, the new species that was introduced to the TV series. And on this one, I opted to do something a lot closer with the scales. So I'm not sure exactly how well you can see that, but the scales are quite small, quite detailed. There's actually quite a lot of layers that went into these little scales. And they create almost like a line down the tail, almost like a texture in addition to the texture that they already create. So you can see these are essentially the same kind of idea. They're made for the same monofin, but we have my giant scales versus my smaller scales. I do actually, it's already packaged up, so I can maybe insert a photo of it. I have actually just created kind of V2 of this Siren Tale for a client recently that I absolutely just really good. So you can take a look at that. If you guys want to see in-depth, detailed shots of all of the tails that I make while I'm making them, including video footage, photos behind the scenes, concept art, finished pieces, everything, you're definitely going to want to check out the Patreon pod at patreonpod.com. I share all of the behind the scenes as I'm working, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, my thoughts, all of these things on my mermaid tails, new tails coming up, new tails that happen to have some crazy, so this is the dorsal fin, crazy dorsal fin and crazy side fins. Oh, what is that, you ask? The fluke of this is probably my favorite part, and this does have a zipper in it, but this is the fluke with the dorsal that comes all the way down to the heels. I cannot actually wait to see her in this tail. Got the matching top and bracers. It's going to be absolutely legendary. I'm going to leave that for now. I'll fold it up nicely when we're finished. But that gives you a little bit of an idea. So I chose to do something different because I was like, if I was going to be a species, right, and I was going to be alongside these guys, you know, maybe I'm a little bit of a different area, we've evolved a little bit differently. Okay, so this is actually not, it is a monofin, okay, but it's not a monofin in the sense that you and I know this to be a monofin, right? This is an entire construction in here, and right in this area, the body part of the tail, we actually have a finis foil. This is the foil, and what this is just the foot pockets, and it's just right in here. Now, adhered somehow, I don't know how. Again, you're gonna want to watch that other video if you have an interest in what the inside of this tail actually looks like. This has been cut down, and this really heavy-duty piece, this is like solid, man. There's no like give like there is with the Mertailor, right? Is kind of constructed into this. But this is in fact the monofin that was used for the Siren Tales. If you guys are interested in this monofin, this is a great practice, very sporty, very comfortable, great if you've got, you know, you want to bring it to the pool, you don't want to go full mermaid because sometimes the lifeguards give you a hard time, but you want to have that kind of faux flipper, like not going to get asked too many questions kind of a vibe. This monofin can be purchased over at finisswim.com. You're definitely going to want to use my discount code MERMAID to get you that 20% off. Helps a little bit, taxes and shipping. You know, you got to take what you can get, you know what I mean? Great fin. I've used it for a long time. I love it. This is definitely like my practice fin of choice, especially because I leave my Luna very often in one or two, I've got two of them, right? Like, hello, in either of those tails. So definitely worth checking out this monofin. Absolutely a great little practice monofin. It was also used by the actors in the show, not this one, this is mine. But this was the fin that they actually used in a lot of the scenes for a lot of the special effects shots afterwards to get that motion, right? The mermaid motion. We know this. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. So now overall, extended fluke v regular fluke. Obviously these two tails are kind of apples and oranges because we're looking at something that's silicone and we're looking at something that's fabric. I'm able to achieve a different level of detail than they are. Their detail is far more based on a sculpt. Mine is far more based on like a print and a paint. But there were some things that I did like off of theirs that I decided to create my own version of. And that includes the back spines. Now you can see, obviously, I definitely took some inspiration from this tail. At this point, I had not actually seen this tail. This tail only actually is used. I think there's one real shot that I can personally remember where it's used, but I wasn't able to like still frame it and then, you know, do the thing. So I was looking, my sort of spines are based off of that really classic image that we all saw when the show was first airing, and it's oh my gosh, it's Rin and she's in that like that pose that she does when it's the full body with the tail and it's got all of the anatomy and stuff. I don't know if that was actually official art or if that was fan art, but it was amazing nonetheless. Whoever the artist is who did that, just like, what? Yes, so good. So I had some inspiration for this. I really also tried my darndest, because these are actually not sewn on, these are actually painted directly on the fabric. I had to get quite creative with how to make it pop. So I had to really darken the inside and really lighten up the top of the spines to really give it that pop. And for the longest time I'd get messages like, Courtney, oh, how are you doing? How did you achieve this? Like, are these real? Are they painted? What are they? No, boo. They are in fact on there. What I do love now though is the fact that I had to do two in order to achieve this really 3D look. This I think is meant to feel like just one fin, right? When it's together, it's supposed to look maybe like one long fin all the way down. I love the fact that this actually looks so similar to this. It's too fun. Some of the finer detailing that I kind of wish I had thought of, and you know, right, I'm thinking more painterly, they're thinking more sculpturally, that 3D, is like all of these little details. Can you see this here where there's like the lines and how it's obviously attached, it kind of creases in? Like I could have done something like that along the seams. Now, if I were to remake this tail, you bet your buns it would be getting the side fins and it would be getting a full-on dorsal fin. We would do it all 40, this is about 39-inch long zipper, it's 39-inch long dorsal. I would do the whole meal deal. What's funny though, and where people are having a little bit of a struggle to understand why I don't think that I'll fit into this, I haven't actually tried it, but I am like 98.2% sure that I will not fit into this, okay? It looks like it's bigger than my tail. It looks like it's bigger than my tail. They go almost the exact same way. Let me just pull this back so you can see. These look, right? In reality, the foot pocket for this thing is right here. So, so if the actress is behind, for lack of a better, her bum is about here and my bum is about there, you can see where we're having a little bit of a discrepancy, right? You can see that that's a little bit of an issue. So that's, I think, where people are having a little bit of a, oh, well, Courtney, this tail looks so much bigger than even your silicone tail. You know, and I think it might be, I haven't measured my mermaid tail all the way from the bottom to the top. That would be something worth doing. The Siren tail is about 80 inches from the top of the waistband, its highest point, all the way to the end. So that gives you a little bit of an idea, but all of this is excess. All of this is added on, right? Your feet only take up like this much space, right? So now in terms of the overall design, while I absolutely think this is one of the coolest tails, this is a really fun. Functionally, there are some things that I'm a little curious about, but again, this may have very well have been made by somebody who'd never seen the inside of a mermaid tail before, or even known what was possible. You know, Creature Fins and I were having a little chat about this. I was, you know, picking her brain a little bit, and I was like, hey, you know, like what, you know, when you think about this, and I really loved her perspective, because she's like, well, you know, it's very cool actually to see somebody else's totally unique take on something when they've never, it's like, here's this enormous problem, now go solve it. How are you going to do it? And it's really cool to see how somebody else achieved this, because you know, you could give this tale to any number of artists out there, but it's really interesting to see how any given tail maker, it's not unlike the splash tail, how each tail maker has their very own unique vibe while still trying to achieve a specific look overall. So very cool, very cool. But what I remember, like that first episode, I was like, oh, Courtney is hooked. Oh my goodness. Hooked. Did you like that? But when I saw it, I was like, okay, we're doing it. I've got to try my hand at this. I've got to do it. I've made a splash tail before as well, splash-inspired mermaid tail. And I was like, no, let's go dark. Let's do something like, this is totally not my vibe. You know what I mean? And I love it. It's so good. It's so fun. But, yeah, there you go. That's been my my insight into the design overall. I hope I did this mostly for me, but like I hope you found it interesting. If you did, be sure to leave this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the pod and the bell notification as well so you never miss an upload. Comment below your thoughts on the design of this mermaid tail, and if you haven't checked out my previous video, definitely do that if you are interested in all of the finer details, because where I didn't go very up close with the camera necessarily today, I did actually get really up close and personal with this tail. Like I got right in there in the last video. So if you're interested in that, again, definitely worth checking out. I want to thank you guys so much for coming along on this adventure with me. This is really wild. I've got still more content planned. Like you don't even know. Like there is so much coming. It's just crazy. So all that being said, thank you again for watching. I love you all my fishes, and I look forward to seeing you all again in my next video. Happy swimming. Bye.